Welcome back to Decentralized Application Development Crashcasts. I'm Sheila, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Victor. Before we dive in, I'd like to remind our listeners that if you're enjoying our show, please rate us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us.
Absolutely, Sheila. We're currently in Season 1, Chapter 1, exploring the fascinating world of decentralization. Today we'll be discussing use cases and examples of decentralized systems. It's going to be an exciting episode.
I couldn't agree more, Victor. To kick things off, I have a quiz question for our listeners. Are you ready?
Bring it on, Sheila. I'm sure our listeners are eager to test their knowledge.
All right, here goes. Which decentralized application allows users to rent out their unused hard drive space to others in exchange for cryptocurrency?
Ooh, that's an intriguing question, Sheila. It really highlights how decentralization can create unique opportunities. I'm curious to see if our listeners can figure this one out. It's not as well known as some other decentralized applications, but it's a great example of how decentralization can be applied to various sectors, including data storage.
Exactly, Victor. Now, before we dive deeper into our topic, let's quickly define some key terms for our listeners. Victor, could you explain what we mean by decentralized systems in this context?
Of course, Sheila. Decentralized systems are networks or applications where control and decision-making are distributed among multiple participants, rather than being concentrated in a single entity. This distribution of power and resources is what makes these systems unique and resilient.
Thanks, Victor. Now, let's start our journey through the use cases and examples of decentralized systems. Can you give us a brief history of how these systems came about?
Certainly, the concept of decentralization isn't new, but it gained significant traction with the advent of the Internet. However, the real game-changer came in 2008 with the introduction of Bitcoin, the first decentralized cryptocurrency. This sparked a revolution in how we think about financial systems and beyond.
That's fascinating. So, Bitcoin was really the catalyst for modern decentralized systems. Can you explain how Bitcoin works as a decentralized system?
Absolutely. Bitcoin operates on a blockchain, which is essentially a distributed ledger. Instead of having a central authority like a bank managing transactions, Bitcoin relies on a network of computers, nodes, that all maintain a copy of the ledger. Transactions are verified by these nodes through a consensus mechanism, making it nearly impossible for any single entity to manipulate the system.
I see. So it's like having thousands of accountants all keeping track of the same ledger, making sure everything adds up correctly.
That's a great analogy, Sheila. It's exactly like that. And this concept of distributed consensus is at the heart of many decentralized systems. Now let's move on to some other examples. Have you heard of BitTorrent?
Yes, I have. It's a file-sharing system, right? How does it relate to decentralization?
Exactly. BitTorrent is a perfect example of decentralized content distribution. Instead of downloading a file from a single server, BitTorrent breaks the file into small pieces. Users then download these pieces from multiple other users who already have the file. This peer-to-peer approach makes the system more resilient and efficient.
That's really interesting. It seems like decentralization can make systems more robust. Are there any other areas where decentralized systems are making an impact?
Absolutely. One exciting area is decentralized finance, or DeFi for short. This is essentially an attempt to recreate traditional financial systems like lending, borrowing, and trading, but in a decentralized manner using blockchain technology.
Wow, that sounds complex. How does that work in practice?
Well, imagine you want to take out a loan. Normally, you'd go to a bank. In DeFi, you interact with a smart contract on a blockchain. This contract automatically manages the loan terms, collateral, and interest rates. Other users provide the funds for these loans and earn interest in return. It's like a global, 24/7 financial system with no middlemen.
That's mind-blowing. It seems like decentralization is really changing the game in finance. Are there any challenges or downsides to these systems?
Great question, Sheila. While decentralized systems offer many advantages, they're not without challenges. For instance, they can be more complex for average users to understand and use. There's also the issue of scalability. Some blockchain networks struggle to handle high transaction volumes. And in DeFi, there have been instances of smart contract vulnerabilities leading to significant financial losses.
Those are important points to consider. It seems like decentralization isn't a silver bullet, but rather a tool with its own strengths and weaknesses. Are there any other interesting use cases we should know about?
Absolutely. One emerging area is decentralized social media. Platforms like Mastodon aim to create social networks where no single entity controls user data or can censor content. There's also decentralized governance through DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and even attempts at decentralized internet infrastructure.
This is all so fascinating, Victor. Before we wrap up, could you share an interesting anecdote or fact about decentralized systems?
Sure thing. Here's an interesting fact. During the 2011 Egyptian revolution, when the government shut down the internet to control protests, people used mesh networking, a form of decentralized communication, to stay connected and organize. It's a powerful example of how decentralization can promote resilience and freedom of communication.
That's incredible, Victor. It really shows the potential impact of these technologies. Now, I think it's time to reveal the answer to our quiz question. The decentralized application that allows users to rent out their unused hard drive space is called Filecoin. It's a great example of how decentralization can create new economic opportunities.
Excellent explanation, Sheila. To sum up, we've seen how decentralized systems are making waves in finance with cryptocurrencies and DeFi, in content distribution with platforms like BitTorrent, and even in social media and internet infrastructure. While they face challenges, these systems offer exciting possibilities for creating more resilient, transparent, and user-empowering technologies.
Thank you, Victor, for this enlightening discussion. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please visit crashcasts.com, join our Discord community, or support us on Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe and rate our podcast. Your support helps us continue creating valuable content. Until next time, keep exploring the world of decentralized systems.